Okay, first a little run through of what to do if you don't have fake teeth, or if you do want to get fake teeth. So I'll try to make this part fast. These and these are the ones that I like to use the most. Both of them you can get on Amazon or eBay. These are called resin teeth, and they're probably the more costly of them, but you can get several sets for about anywhere from $6 to $6 for 2 sets. Sometimes you can even get them cheaper than that. I think I got 10 sets for $10, and that was with free shipping on Amazon. You can also get them, like I said, on eBay. If you order anything like that from China, of course, you're looking at anywhere from 2 weeks to any more 3 months to get things to you. These are called temporary crowns, and even though you would never really use them as temporary crowns, they sort of try to sell them that way on eBay. I guess you could if you had to. It's better than not having a tooth, I guess. But that is what is, these that I'm holding right now are what is in this guy right here. And sometimes it will say uppers, lowers, or molars, so that's why I've got 2. And it comes in this cute little tooth box. Not all of them do, though. And right now I just looked on eBay. They're calling them, what is it? 60 pieces dental ultra thin whitening veneers resin temporary teeth whitened. But you get 60 of them for $1.97, free shipping. So it's not too shabby. And you use them for all kinds of projects. I've probably had these 2 boxes for a couple years now. For instance, that one has front teeth and side teeth, and these are mostly the crowns that are the molars. And so these would be your back side teeth. And to me, it makes it look a little creepy when you have some of these in there, because it looks like they're showing their back teeth. And these also come with some of the little front teeth in there too, like that. So pretty cheap stuff and easy to get. It's just sometimes these will take a while to get shipped to you unless you can find a US supplier. Now, what if you don't have these things and you want to have teeth in your guy? Of course, we've seen they look fine without teeth. They still look spooky as can be without any teeth in their head, but they look fun with them. At Halloween, where it's coming up, you can get these little fake fangs in the costume departments at Walmart or any department store. For just $1 or $2, you can get several. Fake fingernails from the dollar store are great. You can use them just as they are to make them nice and flat. You just shove them up in there like that into the foam, and you've got little teeth. You can also just cut them down in half, and that way you can have 2 or 3 teeth out of one nail. Or you can cut them at an angle so you can have fangs. Don't have that? Got a plastic fork? Just break those off. You got little teeth. You just stuff them up into the foam. Most of us have these little plastic hands, or have had at some point for Halloween. Just knobby them off. Take off, at a joint for teeth, for fangs. If you have, these are dollar store seashells. Use seashells. Just shove them in there to look like little teeth. Beads, white or clear, or even orange and red, and just put them on a piece of wire or head pin and stick them in there. Or even just a little, sewing, the needles for quilting, or for, anyway, the ones that have the little balls on the end. If you don't have that, you have some other options around the house. This is a tooth that I made out of really quick, in like 1 second, out of just, a water bottle. I just cut off this flat part up here and cut me some teeth. And then I just stuck a little paint on them, and when they dry, you can just stick those in there. Of course, these would be bigger, but you can make them any size you want. Smaller for smaller pumpkins. Make them any shape, any size you want. They may not be exactly what you'd like to have, but use what you have around your house, and you'll probably be pleasantly surprised that even though you may not like it when it's by itself, once you actually get it in the pumpkin, you might like how it looks. So like if I folded that one a little bit before I stick it in, it gives it more of a rounded effect. So when you stick it in his little mouth, it's going to be just fine. The other options are, if you have like a day ahead of time that you're working with, you have some things in your house you can make teeth out of. If you have Elmer's glue, or just any PVA glue, and some cornstarch, you can make what's called cold porcelain. You can either do the baking kind, or just, there's microwavable kind, there's kinds you don't bake. And look them up on the internet. There's all kinds of recipes and all kinds of ways to make it. But to be honest, if you're just using it on something like this, you don't need to go through all that. You can just mix cornstarch and Elmer's glue, and it'll be hard enough for a tooth. It won't withstand being, you know, bent, broken, or pulled on, but if you wanted to put a little glossy accents on it, or resin or fingernail polish after you're done, it'll make them all shiny. Garage, or your neighbor's garage, or whatever you want to, and add cornstarch to wood glue. They're a little bit yellower, but here is one where I just added some, I think this one was alcohol inks, so I'll try to get it up close so you can see it. You can give them a lot of detail to make them look like real teeth. Just scrape and scratch and make them look all creepy. This is probably one of my favorite teeth right here, because it looks a little like it's been just pulled out. It was supposed to have been a molar, as you can see, like that, to go in, but then when I saw it like as a fang, because this was going to be the part I put it in, I actually like it like that, just as a like a fang tooth or a canine tooth. You know, some ideas for eyeballs are simply the ones from Tim Holtz, the Tim Holtz creepy eyes, which are really my favorites. I love the shape of them, and I think there's only 2 different sizes in the package. I poured all mine out into a container, so I don't have my package with me. The googly eyes that you can just get at Walmart or dollar store or anything, they come in all different shapes and sizes and colors. And if you can't find any of these things, or if you don't want to spend any money on them, you can always just print some off on paper from your printer, or just draw them, hand draw them on paper, and just glue them in. Add little glossy accents or some fingernail polish to make them shiny. These doll eyes come from, I think, eBay or Amazon. These are 20 millimeter doll eyes, and that's the same size that's used in the bigger pumpkin that I show. And I think 20 millimeters is about, I think it's about 3/4 of an inch, if I'm not mistaken, and 25 millimeters is about 1 inch. So if you're looking at what size you want, I'm thinking I may be wrong on this. I think these are 10 millimeter eyes. They're all little circles. They are can't pick them up. There we go. They are just empty on the back, like a, you know, so you have some space in there if you want to stick some glue in. I went ahead and stuck just the eyes into this newbie that we're doing. And to put them in where he's hollow, I just put them in and then just gently press forward where I'd made the hole on the bottom to put my tea light. That way I could put a little stick in there and sort of gently push them, and they held right in place because the eyes weren't big enough. But if they're, I mean, the eye holes weren't so big that they fell out. If the eye holes are too big, you can just lean them toward one side or toward the bottom and just put a little bit of hot glue on them to hold them in place, and maybe some E6000 around the sides to hold them. And then as you further decorate, you can put moss around them with additional glue, and that'll help hold them in place. But a while back, I was going through some old stuff, and just an old tore up stuffed animal that, yeah, he really needed to go into the trash. And I just looked at him and said, those are mine. So I took the eyes out first. You can go to Joann's or Michael's and get just, you know, stuffed animal or doll eyes, and usually they're not very expensive. The other idea, here's some beads that almost look like they have a little pupil in them, and a little iris. Well, I guess white, or you could, well, that side would look a little weird. But you can also get those little glass, I forget what they're called, but like you would fill vases with. They're glass and they're a little heavy and they're flat on one side. You could use those for eyes and just use some fingernail polish and draw an iris. Anyway, there's your ideas for eyeballs. Now to get to it. Since eyes are so easy, I thought I would start with them. Find the eye that you want and then just push it in. If it's too big, add a little glue. If it's too little, sort of round out the hole a little bit. Push it, prod it. Don't push too hard, you don't want to tear it. Like that one, he just fit in there, and since he's so snug, I'm just going to push him in there, and he's not going to go anywhere. If it was loose, I would put a little E6000 glue behind it. So to me, he's one and done. Now I could mix and match eyeballs if I wanted to, but I think I'm just going to leave him Mr. One Eye right now. I had, on this one that had all the little holes, just to save time, I went on and I just put one little drop, because I wasn't sure, because, you know, they're flat backed and plastic. I just put one little drop of art glitter glue, or you could use Elmer's glue or E6000, you know, because it doesn't take much to hold those in because they're so lightweight. So I just put a little drop in the hole and stuck the eyeball in, and now it's drying. I thought this one would look really cool with one of the Tim Holtz eyes, because especially that eye right there looks really like almost like the right shape to fit it. I could put it over here. I could put one in each eye, but I'm sort of liking the idea of just one. I'm going to use one of the smaller eyes, the Tim Holtz creepy eye. Now, if I wanted to, though, I could like make it have a few little red lines on it with a red marker first. But I think for this show, I'm just going, or even just a little yellow tinge to make it look all goopy. See, so I'm just going to see if he'll stay in there when I press him. Push it down in there a little bit. Sure enough, it's in there pretty good. So I just pushed it in and pressed it just a little bit, not too hard, and it's not going anywhere. So he looks angry. He's an angry pumpkin. Brr. I like the tongue. Problem is when you put too much of this kind of stuff on, that I find is that then they'll tend to lean toward the front. If you do find that to be a problem, either add something heavier to the back, some more clay, or you can even hollow out just a little spot like right here and put a pebble in it from outside, and that'll weight it down from the bottom. When it comes to putting in the teeth, I almost always use some type of adhesive, and when it comes to the foam pumpkins, I really like to use E6000. It comes in black as well as clear, and so I have a tube of black. I just run over the top with a black Sharpie, so when it's in my drawer I can easily grab the black one. To put in the teeth, you simply just make a little hole where you're going to put them in. In this case, I had made out of the cornstarch and glue. I'd made like a little horseshoe a long time ago. I might end up breaking it just to see, because I'm not sure if I want them to come up from the bottom. Oh, that looks pretty cool like that. Or if I want them to come down from the top. Yeah, I'm liking down from the bottom. And since these might be a little too long, if I put them that way, I'll have to break them, which is so sad. But otherwise, if they would fit, I would just make me a little hole there and stick them down in there where you couldn't see the little U shape. Well, who knows, maybe I can get it in there. Let's see. No. Well, maybe. Still maybe. Well, let's give it a try. So what I'll do is I'll take a little pokey tool, or I'll take my X-Acto knife, and I will poke where the tooth base is going to go. So in this case, it's going to be long. I will almost always have to touch up the inside of the mouth a little bit before I do my final little display on these guys, just because you do have to carve out just a little notch here and there for the teeth. Let's see how it goes. So carve, 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 carve. And you have to be careful, make sure you're not going through. And especially if you go through and you're pushing toward the top, you might go through an eye. I'm being sort of gentle here. Try to blow it out. Let's see if that'll work. And if you break it, it's no big deal. You just use it like you would a little partial tooth and stick it in there. I would just use it as a two-piecer. Oh, there we go. It's popping in there. It's a little crooked though. Yeah, there we go. That doesn't look too shabby. I like it. He's creepy. And since I didn't put the glue in when I put them in, I don't want to take those back out. I'm just going to use my tool. And I'm going to put a little glue on it. And then just like a dentist, I'm going to go down and apply my glue. So I could apply the glue before I put them in, or after, just as long as it's something that adheres the tooth to the black foam. Oh, he's evil looking, isn't he? Oh, angry. And that's how you put in teeth. If I was going to use these kind of teeth, I would simply just put the glue on the inside of the little cavity and put it up in the hole or down in the hole where I decide to put it. On this one, I poked a hole here to show you that, like, if you make an accident and where I put in the tooth and I made my hole but my hole went up through the eye, don't worry about it. go on and put it in, let it set, and then just paint over the white part with a little bit of black, and it'll be just fine. So it's mold time. Mold is super easy. All you need is some cotton balls. You can either buy them out of cosmetic stores, dollar store, Walmart, or just go search through your medicine cabinet and see if any of the over-the-counter medications you've bought has a piece of cotton stuck in them. All you need to do to make your mold is to look at your little pumpkin, decide where you want the mold. Let's see here. I'll look at this guy. Remember, this guy's the one that I heated at the top and pushed in because I said I wanted to make a mold spot. So that's going to be his mold spot. And all you need to do is you take a little bit of glue. This is art glitter glue, but you could use Elmer's glue just fine. And I'm not going to put it all the way over it. I'm just going to put it somewhere around the edge and then maybe just brush just a little bit. And then I will rub it in. You don't have to rub it in. You could use your cotton to do that. But in this case where there's a hole, I want it all over it. Then I'm going to take my piece of cotton and just tear it and stuff it on there. Just like that. Give it a good little tight little press, and then once it dries I'll show you what to do. So we will make mold for these two guys. I'm just going to give him some mold in some areas. So there we go, a little bit of mold there. And this makes the fuzzy mold. So you've already got the light colored paint that will make an appearance of mold trying to grow or rotting. This is where you get your fuzzies. And you're just going to stick it all over where you put any glue. I wouldn't go too crazy with it, but it does add a lot. And if you want to make it to add more of the expression, it's always, yeah, where was this at when I was in kindergarten? I would have loved to pull that off. Now it's not quite as fun, but to be fair, I still sort of like it. Okay. You can use your mold making abilities to create eyebrows. So like on the big guy here, I got my glue on there and I got the mold. Now we're not finished yet. Don't think I'm leaving him like that, because I'm not. But you can see where I put the glue over top of his eyes and then I stuck some cotton on top of that. So if you want to be super fast, you could go on and have some cotton already torn apart. It does stick to your fingers quite a bit, but it comes off really easy. This guy's going to have a little fuzzies right there, maybe a little fuzzy right here. Just a few little fuzzies all over. Here we go, give him an eyebrow there, and an eyebrow there. Oh, out of screen. Just put glue on, nothing big deal. And then you'll stick it there. Just stick it all over where you got your glue. Doesn't have to be neat, doesn't have to be pretty, because you're going to rip it off anyway. I'll show you what I mean here in just 1 second. I did do the other ones ahead of time, just so I could show you quicker. And it usually only takes 5 or 10 minutes for this to dry, even if you use like Elmer's glue. These are the ones that I already did that are already dry. And so now that I have my mold all dried on there, I'm just going to gently start pulling. It's sort of scary because if you pull too hard too fast, you could rip off some of your paint and stuff. So just do it gently. Get it down to the bare nubs. You know, however thick you want your mold is up to you. I take it down usually to a pretty fine little wisp. Just pulling, 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 ripping, ripping, ripping. Get it down to where, and the good thing about cotton too is that it has these little fine little beads in it, which gives it that little E. Look. For cheap little cotton balls. Okay, we're getting there. Like I said, I usually take it down all the way to the nubs. Hold on to it. Don't pull too hard. Don't pull too big a hold. Don't pull too big of a whole part. Just do little bitty parts at a time. If you have a piece of tape nearby, you can clean off your fingers easier, or a wet wipe to just pull the cotton off if this kind of stuff bothers you stuck on your fingers. Okay, then once you get it down to where you like it, Remember, like that piece to me is too thick and it's really stuck on there. I'm not going to worry about it because we're going to add a little bit of moss, and I'll just stick a piece of moss over that part. Okay, so he's down to where it's just fuzzy molds. And you can take it down further if you want. So, now you can use your fingers. I love the fingers. But if you don't want to use your fingers, you can just use a Q-tip, or if you got one of the daubers that you put on distress inks with, and then you're just going to color it a little bit. And just pick whatever color you want for ink, or you could use a marker. You could use, well, pretty much anything. You can even use food coloring if you want to. Just mix it down. Just don't make it too wet. Just sort of a dry rub. For me, I'm using crushed olive, forest moss, or twisted citron. But I just reached in and grabbed those. It could be any of the greens out of your inks. Or if you don't have inks, you could just use some paint that you've watered down and just use just a Q-tip or your finger just to barely tap it on, because you don't want to saturate. You still want some of the white left. Some of the white fuzzy, but just a little tints of green to make them look icky. Okay. Now for the other type of moss that you can see right here, I did this one yesterday. See how the looks like a growing, creeping, crawling, icky moss? That is, surprise, right out of the kitchen, dried herbs. You can use parsley, basil, Italian dressing. You can use it just like it is, right out of the thing, to make it more bigger flakes. Or if you have something where you can crush it, whether even if it's just a hammer, or if you have a little mortar pestle set, you can just put it in and then just grind it up a little bit more, make it more of a fine powder. And all depend on which dried herb it is. Some of them are a little lighter in color than others, so find one you like or mix and match. Sometimes I just use Italian seasoning. That way you have a good variety. So there's always basil, parsley, oregano, Italian seasoning, just anything like that. Or if you happen to have the floral spongy stuff, you can use that. I don't know what they call it, floral foam, like the little blocks where you stick the flowers into. You can use that and just crush it up real fine, and you've made some kind of little powdery stuff. And you're going to put it on exactly the same way as you did this kind of the cotton, except for you're going to make a line. Let's see here, so I'm going to run me a line. It can be thick, thin, whatever you want, and then you just sprinkle over it. Sprinkle your dried herbs over it. And like I said, you don't have to crush them this fine. I just like it this fine. And you put your lines however you want them, and then you set it off to dry, and probably about 10-15 minutes. Your cotton's dry, your little green mossy vines are fine. It's moss time. There are so many mosses out there right now that you can get just about any color you want. There's purples and greens and browns. If you can get them even from the dollar store, they're not quite honestly as good a quality, but for this kind of project they're just fine. This is dollar store moss. I think I've had a lot of these other ones for a long time. Some of them are almost dried out, and that's just fine for this project, because I might even apply some glossy accents on it just to keep it hard so it'll last longer. My friend Andrea gifted me some moss ribbon. I had never seen this stuff. It's almost like it's got a metal inside, like little wires. I don't know if it's wires or some kind of stiff sticks, but the only thing I know is that I hope I never run out of it, because it's amazing. So just look around your house, see what you can use that's mossy, pull them out of old plants, pull them out of old potted plants, especially if you have the old fake leaves. A lot of times in the bottom of the plants, around the base of the plant, you'll find, moss if you don't want to go out and buy some new stuff. Anything like green wire. In this case, this one is cloth stem wire, 22 gauge. You can get it smaller. The bigger the wire, bigger number, smaller the wire. So 20, 25 gauge would be great for this size pumpkin. The cloth covered always looks a little bit better for this kind of project, but you can get just plain old metal. That'll be fine too. I was sort of giggling when I looked at this and thought, hey, that label looks almost vintage. And then I laughed and I thought, technically I'm vintage. And when I was looking through some of my stuff the other day, I realized that some of my stuff was getting so old I could probably qualify as authentic vintage, even though that I might have bought it pretty close to new. So anyway, that's the joys of getting old. But if you just want to use a wire, you know how I made these little swirlies out of the clay to go on my pumpkin? Yeah, you don't have to go through all that. Get you some wire, if you want some little twirly swirlies, and just make it out of wire. And they're also really easy to put in and on the pumpkin when you do that, because then it's just wire and you just punch it in and it stays. So that's simple. Okay, so in this, which like I said, I'm in love with now, same thing as I did with that one. You can just take it off and make a little hole. Pokey, and stick it in. Where this is sort of loosey-goosey, sometimes I'll just use the end of the pokey tool or the scribe. I think it's the technical term for these, because these are used for cupcakes to do icing. And I will hold it. Maybe I will. I don't have my glasses on. And I'll just poke it down in there. And then if I make too big of a hole, so see how it's all loose and hanging up here, that way it's not all glued down. And I've just caught it on the end of my needle and I've poked it down into the foam. So that's going to float around. And if I'm worried about it coming out, or especially if you have little kids that might be picking it up, or little kid-minded adults like me, who want to see, oh, is that in there? Yeah, just maybe add a little touch of glue to your moss and stick it on there. That's all. That's all you have to do to put on moss. You just glue it, stick it where you want it. Oh, there you go. There's your moss. The last final part is optional, obviously, is to drip some resin in around the teeth, or drip glossy accents in around the teeth. Something that's wet and juicy, or to just paint on some fingernail polish, some clear fingernail polish. And that way you have more of a wet look inside your mouth. If you want to color your teeth, use an alcohol ink, because they're sort of transparent. Either get alcohol ink itself or alcohol markers, and then that way you will have a transparent look on your little teeth. Yellow-green. It does dry fairly quick, so you'll want to, where it's alcohol ink. Oops, sorry about that. And then I just brush right at the base. Let's see if I get this in focus here. Just brush a little bit here at the base. And see how it gives it like the like a sort of a icky tooth. See? So I'll just give him some icky teeth. I'll leave the tips white, but make the roots a little bit ick.